the idea that not allowing somebody else to help me once in a while was actually fairly selfish, because I was denying these other people the opportunity to actually feel like they're contributing to what we're trying to do. And so that's, I think, something for a lot of us veterans to really contemplate is, how much are we denying other people the sense of being able to be supportive for us when we're not allowing them to do anything for us in the process?
Boy, that's an extremely important point, because I've told people all the time that in helping others, and whether it's sitting through crisis calls or whatever, you do get that sense of a belonging and accomplishment and mission, and that's so critical within our community to have that sense of purpose. And I like where your head's at on that. We can't deny that to somebody else just because we are too proud to take it ourselves.
Yep. It took me a long time to get to that point too. I will tell you, it's taken me at least 15 years to finally get to any kind of what I would call a normal level
right.
after being in the military.
Absolutely. And I'd be remiss if I didn't hit on national security issues a little bit. We live in very dangerous and scary times with global terrorism and the rise of rhetoric from countries like Russia and China and Iran and North Korea. And a lot of folks are very disillusioned with the current foreign policies. What's your approach to keeping America safe and also maintaining that American leadership around the globe? I have this feeling that when folks see Veterans Party, they automatically think we're going to be warmongers. Do you run into that at all?
I've had a few people bring that type of a comment to it, but I would say, and again, I apologize, my memory's not that good for names and things, but there was a really great quote from back in the 1950s about the person that would be the most apprehensive of war is somebody that's actually seen it themselves.
Absolutely.
And so, we talk a lot as a community, and there is a lot of the chest thumping, so to speak, of, I want to go in and just take care of business. But at the end of the day, I think that folks that have actually been in those places, we see the long-term impacts, and we see the interactions and what happens during that. It definitely changes the way you view the world. As far as our actual approach, I think the biggest thing is we've seen for the last 50 years this interventionist style of foreign policy where we actually go in and set up a lot of the rebel forces and then later on have to go in and deal with that problem 20 years down the road. So I think one of the things that would be different with us is actually taking the time to start to pull back from some of the areas where we really aren't supposed to be there. But then if somebody actually attacks us, you can bet that we will not have the handcuffs and zip ties on our guys or girls out in the field telling them, well, you can't do this. If we're going to go to war, we're going to go to war. There is none of this just going in halfway or trying to maintain a humanitarian purpose at the same time trying to battle a group. I mean, if you're going to go to war, you've got to go to war. And I think that's where things have been really going wrong for the last at least 50 years and maybe longer than that.
Oh, absolutely. That's something that, I talk to warfighters about all the time, is this, like you said, this humanitarian almost stance while you're at war. And unfortunately, war is ugly. It's not something that anybody should enjoy. But when you're at war, you're at war. And then after you achieve your mission, then you can go back and, do the humanitarian thing when it's beneficial to your country. And that's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah, I think we have a very similar philosophy on that. And I know Chris is going to be on the show later in the week as well, and he's got some really good ideas and thoughts that much more clear in his conversation about that subject.
Excellent. And one thing I ask every presidential candidate I talk to, because it's an important thing to me. As a warfighter, when I look at the president, I consider the title of Commander-in-Chief to be the most important role. And that may be correct, it may not be, but what does Commander-in-Chief mean to you?
Well, to me, you're the final decision maker, and so when you think about things from what the role of a Joint Chief or anyone else like that, the Commander-in-Chief is the final stop of national defense, national security. And so that I agree with you. I think that as a presidential candidate, that certainly active service is a very big plus. Mm-hmm. And without having some understanding of how the military functions, I don't know how you lead the forces in those circumstances. I mean, I'm sure it can be done, but I don't see it. I really do think that as a commander-in-chief, you have the responsibility of the entire military force, and if you don't understand what that means, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around how somebody can lead the military without it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you said, it's an understanding thing. And us as warfighters, we do speak a different language between all the 15 million acronyms and just that general experience level. And it would be very hard to make those whatever you want to call them, those life and death type situation or decisions if you don't have that kind of background. So I absolutely agree with you there.
Absolutely. And to equate that to, I'm sure you guys have some civilian listeners. Mm-hmm. How can you show somebody how to do something that you haven't done yourself? So whether it's sweeping the floors or mopping the back room or anything else, I can't imagine how you would show somebody what to do if you haven't done it yourself. So I'm a lead by example kind of guy and not a lead from the rear type. And so I think as most of us that have served in the military, that tends to be our philosophy and our way of doing things.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Now, if folks want to, to get get in touch with you, if they want to, find out ways to get involved or ways to support the party, what do they need to do?
So the party itself is www.veteranspartyofamerica.org. And that's where you can read the platform. That's where you can do, there's a volunteer link on there. There's a campaign contributions link on there. Everything running through the treasurer to make sure that we're in line with the FEC guidelines and making sure that we're keeping things on the up and up. And then as far as the campaign itself, Chris Keniston, and I'll spell that KENISTON, 2016.com.
Fantastic, phenomenal stuff.
As far as my stuff, there's a link there on the Chris Keniston page where you can see the travels that I've done, and then I'm also very active on Facebook, as most of us in the Veterans Party are.
That's great. I mean, that's such an easy way to reach out and to connect with people. So as we transition out of this crazy primary season and everything, and head towards the general election. What do folks have to look for when it comes time to go to the polls? Are you going to be on the ballots? Is it going to be a write-in situation? How is that going to work?
Well, that's what we're working on right now. Most people, again, haven't been taught the process that goes into a general election type of a campaign like this. But each state has its own unique requirements for ballot access. And so right now, most of those windows are just opening up, and there's a myriad of different ways that you qualify, again, depending on the state. So in Colorado, we're raising money for the $1,000 filing fee. I think it was Louisiana's a $500 filing fee. And then we're on the ballot in those states. In Mississippi, there was a process that we went through, and we're actually on the ballot in Mississippi. The state of Florida, we just got word over the weekend that the party folks, the leadership in Florida, have just submitted the application and met all the requirements for party recognition in Florida, which is a huge hurdle.
Right.
So it's very much state by state, but that is one of the things that we are just now starting to ramp up into. Is a lot of those key deadlines just opened up for us to get on the ballot in these states.
Well, fantastic, man. I really appreciate you spending some time with me today, and I know you're really, really busy. But I'd love to have you come back on and update us with your travels and your experiences out there.
Well, I would love to. And for those of the folks that haven't seen us before, I'm about to start a fairly long ride where I'm going to help raise money for a group of veterans up here in New Hampshire. They've started a farm for homeless vets to reintegrate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to do a big loop in the month of May where I'm actually cutting across the northern states, down along the California coastline, and then come back on the ride to the wall to be back in D.C. over Memorial Day weekend. So definitely check out the Facebook pages and follow us, and I would be more than happy to keep you in the loop as we're moving across the country.
Fantastic, man. That would be incredible. Again, I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate and respect everything you're out there doing, man. Appreciate
it, and you guys keep doing the great work. We all tune in from time to time and listen to your guys' shows as well. It's how it's all done. This network has got to keep working together.
That's it. We all support each other.
Roger that, brother.